If you didn't know history, you didn't know anything. You were a leaf that didn't know it was part of a tree. In other centuries, human beings wanted to be saved, or improved, or freed, or educated. But in our century, they want to be entertained. The great fear is not of disease or death, but of boredom. A sense of time on our hands, a sense of nothing to do. A sense that we are not amused. The purpose of history is to explain the present, to say why the world around us is the way it is. History tells us what is important in our world, and how it came to be. It tells us what is to be ignored, or discarded. That is true power, profound power. The power to define a whole society. It is especially difficult for modern people to conceive that our modern, scientific age might not be an improvement over the pre-scientific period. In reality, time doesn't pass, we pass. Time itself is invariant. It just is. Therefore, past and future are in separate locations, the way New York and Paris are separate locations. And since the past isn't a location, you can't travel to it. A theory is only valuable if it has the ability to predict future outcomes. But history is the record of human action, and no theory can predict human action. The purpose of history is to explain the present, to say why the world around us is the way it is. History tells us what is important in our world, and how it came to be. It tells us why the things we value are the things we should value. And it tells us what is to be ignored, or discarded. That is true power, profound power. The power to define a whole society. Exercise invigorates the body and sharpens the mind. Historically, the claim of consensus has been the first refuge of scoundrels. It is a way to avoid debate by claiming that the matter is already settled. In the information society, nobody thinks. We expect to banish paper, but we actually banish thought. Whenever you hear the consensus of scientists agrees on something or other, reach for your wallet, because you're being had. Books aren't written, they're rewritten, including your own. It is one of the hardest things to accept, especially after the seventh rewrite hasn't quite done it. We are stubborn, self-destructive conformists. Any other view of our species is just a self-congratulatory delusion. I am now very interested in computer technology as it is used currently to make games. I think this technology is very powerful and could be used in new ways. Readers probably haven't heard much about it yet, but they will. Quantum technology turns ordinary reality upside down. The belief that there are other life forms in the universe is a matter of faith. There is not a single shred of evidence for any other life forms, and in 40 years of searching, none has been discovered. There is absolutely no evidentiary reason to maintain this belief. It's not unreasonable to imagine that, at least as we're in a transition to a world economy, it's still necessary now to pay attention to how our country is doing economically in comparison with other countries. When I have political discussions with my friends, I piss them off because my personal position is that there's no difference between the parties. It's the Red Sox and the Mets. There's an idea of, informing people about some emerging things. and part of that is just a reflection of my own interest, following different areas and saying, look what they're doing now. Instead of writing thrillers to pay for my train bills, I was actually now going to medical school in order to have something to write about. The American media produce a product of very poor quality. Its information is not reliable, it has too much chrome and glitz, its stores rattle, it breaks down almost immediately, and it's sold without warranty. It's flashy, but it's basically junk. Human beings never think for themselves. They find it too uncomfortable. For the most part, members of our species simply repeat what they are told, and become upset if they are exposed to any different view. The characteristic human trait is not awareness but conformity, and the characteristic result is religious warfare. Other animals fight for territory or food, but, uniquely in the animal kingdom, human beings fight for their beliefs. We all live every day in virtual environments, defined by our ideas. I am certain there is too much certainty in the world.